The wait is finally over. The doors to the Indiana Fever practice facility have officially swung open. And the moment every basketball fan in the world has been holding their breath for has arrived. Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, and the rest of the squad are back in the building. Training camp is here. It is go time. But beneath the smiles, the hugs, the media day photos, and the seemingly immaculate vibes being pushed by the team's PR department, there is a complex, multi-layered tactical and cultural war waiting to unfold on the hardwood. This is WNBA Pro, your exclusive unfiltered home for the highest level WNBA analytics on YouTube. Today, we are not just looking at the highlight clips of players walking into the gym. We are going to construct the entire puzzle. We are going to break down the hidden storylines, the major front office gambles, the toxic relationship with the fanbase, and the massive tactical implications of the newest roster moves. We are going to analyze the secret weapon the Fever just unlocked, the incredible collective bargaining agreement risk they are taking, the psychological standoff between Caitlin Clark and head coach Stephanie White, and the shocking disrespect the front office has shown to the people who pay their bills. Grab your notebooks, lock in and pay attention because we are going deep into the X's and O's, the business of sports and the fragile ego of the Indiana Fever organization.
Okay, we got Kelsey, we got Sophie and KK back. Hey man, I'm ready for this, bro. I'm ready for the season to start. It's been, you know how much time we've waited to see Caitlin Clark back on the WNBA floor. I'm excited for this, man.
Let's start with the visual evidence from day one of camp. Seeing Caitlin Clark reunite with Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston is the collective sigh of relief that this passionate fan base desperately needed. For months, rumors were swirling regarding Mitchell's future and the team's internal chemistry following a highly turbulent off-season. Seeing them back on the floor together solidifies one undeniable mathematical fact. From a pure personnel and talent standpoint, the Indiana Fever possess the offensive firepower to compete with any dynasty in the league. Kelsey Mitchell is coming off a phenomenal stretch of basketball, and her ability to play off of Caitlin Clark's unprecedented gravitational pull creates the most lethal backcourt combination in the WNBA. When you have two guards who can pull up comfortably and accurately from 30 feet, the opposing defense is mathematically stretched past its breaking point. It forces opposing coaches to make impossible decisions in pick-and-roll coverage. You step up to stop Clark. Mitchell cuts backdoor. You hedge hard on Mitchell. Clark pulls from the logo. But as any basketball purist knows, raw talent does not win championships. Elite utilization of that talent does. And that brings us to the most fascinating under-the-radar addition to this roster. A player who was spotted instantly in the practice facility footage and someone who could completely alter the geometry of the Fever's second unit, Monique Billings.
Monique Billings, okay. Oh yeah, that's the connection right there. That's going to be, listen, Monique Billings is going to be huge for this team. You see Monique Billings and Caitlin Clark right here. Going to be a pivotal, going to be an important part of the team's success. We saw Monique Billings.
Most casual fans and mainstream media analysts look at the Monique Billings signing as a simple depth move. A veteran body to eat up regular season minutes, provide some locker room leadership, and grab a few rebounds. But if you are a true student of the game and if you watched the tape from the Team USA basketball camp just a month ago, you know exactly why this is a tactical masterstroke. To deeply understand the Billings impact, we have to talk about the concept of vertical spacing versus horizontal spacing. Caitlin Clark is the ultimate historic master of horizontal spacing. By simply crossing half-court with a live dribble, she pulls perimeter defenders horizontally away from the paint. Aaliyah Boston, on the other hand, provides elite post-gravity. She demands physical double teams on the block, bringing defenders down to the baseline. But what the Indiana Fever lacked so desperately last year was elite vertical spacing. They needed a rim-running explosive athlete who could slip a screen and catch lobs out of the pick and roll at the apex of the jump. Enter Monique Billings. During the Team USA camp, the pick-and-roll connection between Clark and Billings was instantaneous, natural, and devastating. Clark needs a big who rolls to the basket with ferocity and plays above the rim. Billings provides exactly that. If the coaching staff recognizes this, the Clark-Billings high pick-and-roll should become the absolute staple of the Fever's transitional offense. It provides Aaliyah Boston with a necessary breather without sacrificing interior pressure. It is a tactical match made in heaven, and seeing them reconnect on day one of camp is a massive green flag for the offensive ceiling of this team. However, for every step forward this front office takes, they seem to take two massive, unforced, baffling steps backwards. And this brings us to the most high-risk, questionable roster move of the entire off-season. It involves a player named Justine Pat. And to understand why this is a potential disaster, we need to dive into the intricate rules of the WNBA's new collective bargaining agreement.
Here it says, this is courtesy of Robin Lundberg, Sports Illustrated. What Justine Pisot's developmental deal says about Indiana Fever's roster plan. Okay, the Indiana Fever signed one of their WNBA draft picks to a developmental contract. Okay, the Indiana Fever made some noteworthy selections in the WNBA draft. The Fever took point guard Raven Johnson of South Carolina with the 10th pick in the first round.
The Indiana Fever signed one of their WNBA draft picks to a developmental contract. Okay. The Indiana Fever made some noteworthy selections in a WNBA draft. The Fever took point guard Raven Johnson of South Carolina with the 10th pick in the first round. The Indiana Fever drafted Justine Pat, a 6 feet 4 inches elite shooter out of Vanderbilt. For a team that desperately needs size, length, and floor spacing at the power forward position, drafting a 6'4" stretch four was actually a brilliant piece of scouting. But instead of securing her on the standard 12-woman roster to protect their asset, the Fever front office just announced that Pat is being signed to a developmental contract. Here is the smart insight on why this is a terrifying gamble that could blow up in their faces. Under the new CBA, teams are now permitted to carry 2 developmental players in addition to their standard roster. These players can practice with the team, travel, and be activated for up to 12 games without counting against the extremely tight salary cap. On paper, to a casual observer, it sounds like a fantastic loophole to save money. But there is a massive glaring catch that nobody is talking about. Developmental players are essentially unprotected free agents. They are not locked into your franchise. If Justine Pat goes out in the preseason, steps onto the floor, and knocks down 3 or 4 triples, proving that she can be a legitimate 6 feet 4 inches floor spacer at the professional level, literally any team in the WNBA can swoop in, offer her a standard contract, and take her. The New York Liberty, the Las Vegas Aces, the Connecticut Sun, championship contenders who understand the absolute premium value of shooting size can steal her right out from under Indiana's nose. Why is Indiana taking this massive unnecessary risk with a player whose skill set perfectly aligns with their biggest weakness? Because they have completely mismanaged their roster construction by hoarding undersized guards. The Fever currently have a ridiculous logjam in the backcourt. They drafted Raven Johnson, a 5'8" defensive specialist. Despite already having Tasha Harris, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Hall, they prioritized redundancy at the guard position over securing a 6 feet 4 inches shooter on a guaranteed deal. In the modern WNBA, spacing is oxygen. You cannot run a highly efficient offense if your power forward cannot shoot the 3. If the opposing 4 can safely sag off their assignment and pack the paint, Aaliyah Boston is going to face suffocating triple teams all season long. Pat was the ultimate insurance policy for that exact scenario. Putting her on an unprotected developmental deal while keeping 6 guards is a fundamental misallocation of cap space. If a rival team poaches her in 2 weeks, the Fever front office will have nobody to blame but themselves. But the roster construction is only a symptom of a much larger, much more dangerous disease infecting this franchise. This brings us to the ultimate elephant in the room. The players are back. The media is capturing the smiles. But what happens when the cameras turn off?
Forward, best believe I'm going to address it. But up until then, I'm going to root for Raven Johnson the same way I root for all the Indiana Fever players to play well, because I root for Caitlin Clark. So I hope Raven Johnson is out there locking people down, making spot-up jump shots, passing Caitlin Clark the ball, and getting the hell out of her way. So I'm going to root for her until further notice, okay? Now, here it says,
we have spent the last week analyzing the alarming comments made by head coach Stephanie White. If you have been paying close attention to the specific language this coaching staff has been using, the picture is no longer just concerning. It is a tactical nightmare. The Indiana Fever are not simply tossing around the idea of moving Caitlin Clark off the ball. They are actively, deliberately building a roster constructed to position the greatest playmaker in women's basketball history as a small forward. Let me connect the dots for you because the breadcrumbs have been falling for over a year. Following the draft, Stephanie White took to the microphone and categorized her guard rotation with very specific, revealing terminology. She labeled Tasha Harris as a combo guard. She labeled Caitlin Clark as a player who can play on and off the ball. And crucially, she labeled rookie Raven Johnson as a true point guard. When a head coach publicly categorizes a defensive-minded rookie as the true point guard and relegates her generational MVP-caliber superstar to a versatile wing player, we are no longer guessing at the strategy. The strategy is set. The Fever are preparing to roll out a perimeter rotation where Johnson runs the 1, Mitchell or Harris runs the 2, and the 6-foot Caitlin Clark is pushed to the 3 spot. This brings us to a major basketball insight. The myth of the true point guard in modern heliocentric basketball. Stephanie White's desire for a true point guard to set the table is a basketball philosophy trapped in the year 2004. In the modern game, the traditional pass-first point guard who simply initiates the offense and gets out of the way is becoming entirely obsolete when you possess a heliocentric superstar. Look at Luka Doncic. Look at LeBron James. Look at Nikola Jokic. These are players who do not fit the traditional mold of a 5-foot 10-point guard. Yet, they are the undisputed primary playmakers. Why? Because when you have a player whose gravity, court vision, and scoring threat are that immense, putting the ball in the hands of a traditional point guard actually makes your offense worse. It takes the ball away from the most dangerous person on the floor. Caitlin Clark is the WNBA's ultimate heliocentric hub. Taking the ball out of her hands is the equivalent of buying a Formula One race car and forcing it to deliver groceries in a school zone. Yes, the car can physically do it. She is a career 34% three-point shooter. She can stand in the corner and spot up, but you are completely neutralizing the very asset that makes her a generational anomaly. And let's look at the domino effect this has on Aaliyah Boston. If Raven Johnson, an elite defender but a low-volume perimeter shooter, brings the ball up the floor, the defense sags off, they drop below the three-point line, they pack the paint, they clog the driving lanes. The entire reason the Clark-Boston pick and roll is so lethal is because Clark's shooting gravity pulls the opposing center out of the paint, giving Boston a wide-open runway to the rim. If Clark is standing in the corner as a decoy, the spacing completely evaporates. Stephanie White is trying to solve a perimeter defense problem, but in doing so, she is suffocating her franchise center in the paint. It is tactical malpractice. The statistics from last season are glaringly conclusive. When Caitlin Clark was the primary ball handler initiating the offense, the Indiana Fever boasted a +6.4 net rating. They played with pace, flow, and elite efficiency. When the ball was taken out of her hands, the offense stagnated into a league-average predictable mess. So, if the numbers say it's a bad idea, and the basketball geometry says it's a bad idea, why is the Indiana Fever front office so obsessed with this plan? This requires us to dive into the psychology of sports management. What we are witnessing in Indianapolis is a classic case of the system versus superstar complex. Coaches and general managers are inherently driven by ego. They want to be viewed as architects. Stephanie White respects the Dawn Staley school of basketball. Low scoring, highly disciplined, defensive dogfights. When a front office inherits a player like Caitlin Clark, a player whose talent supersedes any playbook, it creates an identity crisis for the coaching staff. If the Fever win a championship by letting Caitlin Clark shoot logo threes and throw full-court transition passes, the narrative will forever be Caitlin Clark won that ring. But if Stephanie White can force Clark into a structured defensive-minded system, if she can win games 72-65 by playing Raven Johnson at the point, then the narrative becomes Stephanie White's brilliant system won that ring. They are trying to prove that their culture and their system are bigger than the superstar. It is the exact same hubris that has broken apart dynasties in the past. And this arrogance, this absolute refusal to adapt to the reality of what they have bleeds directly into how this front office treats the people who fund their paychecks, the fans.
Jessica Timmons, okay? So they have officially put Justine Pissart on a developmental deal. But hey, the team is back. Everybody is back, ready to go. Okay, ready to lock back in. I'm excited for this. I'm ready for some games and start getting playing Stephanie White. Oh,
You cannot talk about the tactical disaster of the Indiana Fever without talking about the cultural disaster happening simultaneously off the court. While the coaching staff is busy trying to put a leash on their superstar, the executives are busy attacking the fan base. Just days ago, Lynn Dunn, the senior advisor and architect of this franchise, took to Twitter to post a deeply insulting manifesto psychoanalyzing the fan base, essentially calling them malicious complainers who destroy team culture. This is a 78-year-old legend of the game, looking at the most passionate, economically powerful fan base in the history of the WNBA and telling them to sit down and be quiet. The Fever fan base is not a traditional sports fan base. The overwhelming majority arrived because of Caitlin Clark. They bought the $130 jerseys. They bought the League Pass subscriptions. They funded the new $78 million training facility. And when they express valid analytical concerns about the team drafting another undersized guard instead of a forward or the coach moving Clark off the ball, they are doing exactly what engaged consumers do. They are protecting their investment. To call them complainers is a fundamental misunderstanding of the sports business model. If you order a premium steak at a restaurant and the chef brings you burnt toast, you complain. You don't expect the manager to hand you a pamphlet on the 4 types of complainers. The sheer audacity of Lynn Dunn's post shows an organization completely insulated from reality. And the rot doesn't stop there. We also saw WNBA veteran Erica Wheeler decide that right now, in the midst of an 800% pay increase funded directly by these new fans, was the perfect time to mock middle-class Americans. She went online and claimed critics are just jealous because they don't make $150,000 a year. Did a professional basketball player really just use a 6-figure salary as an insult against the working-class fans who save up for months just to buy nosebleed tickets? This is a cultural crisis. You have a head coach talking about moving the greatest point guard in history to small forward. You have a president in Kelly Krakoff comparing the team to Apple instead of addressing the basketball issues. You have a senior advisor in Lynn Dunn calling the fans malicious complainers. And you have a veteran player in Erica Wheeler mocking the financial status of the ticket buyers. 4 layers of an organization all alienating the fan base. All projecting a massive superiority complex. All in a single week. Training camp is not just about getting players into physical shape. It is the ultimate psychological battlefield. When the starters take the floor for their very first Fivianive scrimmage this week, who is bringing the ball up the floor? Who is dictating the tempo? Stephanie White has a monumental choice to make over these next few weeks. She can either be the architect of the most explosive, unguardable offense the WNBA has ever seen by handing the keys completely to Caitlin Clark, or she can be the coach who prioritized her own defensive philosophy and her own ego over the undeniable reality of modern basketball. The WNBA is evolving at light speed. The Liberty and the Aces are fine-tuning dynasties. And while the rest of the league adapts to the future, the Indiana Fever front office is actively fighting their own superstars' playstyle and actively fighting their own fans. This is WNBA PRPO. We don't sugarcoat it and we don't back down. We are exactly 22 days away from the regular season. The talking is done. The ball is bouncing on the hardwood, and this is where legacies are built or broken. I want to hear from the true basketball minds in the comment section today. Forget the PR spin. Let's talk reality. Do you agree that moving Clark to the 3 destroys Aaliyah Boston spacing? Do you think the front office's ego is going to ruin this championship window before it even opens? And what is your reaction to Lynn Dunn and Erica Wheeler disrespecting the fans? Drop your most detailed takes down below. I read every single one of them. Smash that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss our training camp breakdown later this week. And as always, keep the vision alive. We'll see you in the next deep dive. Memo Highlight Explain.